This whole LSU Med, Dr. Ghali thing, I know your thoughts, your emotions are pretty strong. Why don't you give us the Greg Tarver overview of the situation?
Well, we're treated differently from other parts of the state of Louisiana. I'll give you an example. In New Orleans, the LSU Med School, the chancellor was identically about 3 or 4 times the complaints against him, but he's not placed on leave. Dr. Ghali have only 4 or 5 complaints against him, and he's placed on leave. He was cleared of a sexual harassment under Title IX. Why are they treating us any different than South Louisiana? Because they've always treated us different.
You feel like we are a scapegoat in this whole deal, and that there's so much more to be uncovered at LSU in Baton Rouge. Why do you feel that way?
Well, because it's evident, it's very clear that they have not even touched the surface in Baton Rouge. Not only with the football team, other areas. But what they're trying to do, they're trying to shift everything to Shreveport and use Shreveport as a scapegoat. And that's not right nor fair.
Mr. Gregg, I'm going to hearken back to your statement from a couple of days ago that we've read on the radio a couple of times. And I'm going to jump to a conclusion. Tell me if I'm jumping to the wrong Greg Tarver, what's in Greg Tarver's head conclusion. When it comes to the Dr. Ghali situation, did a bunch of people get in a room and make a plan to do this? Because it sounds to me that, is that what you're saying? That a bunch of guys and maybe women all got together and said, we need to create a diversion. We need to change the focus away from the big trouble in Baton Rouge that includes the football team.
Well, let me say this to you. I don't think it's 5 or 6 people got into the room and made that decision. I think the decision like that was made by 1 or 2 people. But I don't think that they meant to use Shreveport as a scapegoat, but they did by mentioning it at the same time. You're talking about sexual harassment here. Dr. Ghali was cleared of sexual harassment under Title IX. Then you're speaking of ladies who have a complaint about discrimination. In New Orleans, let's take that for instance. They have about 15 or 20 complaints against the chancellor down there. Is he on leave? No, he's not on leave. Shreveport, Dr. Ghali got 4. He's on leave. Why? Why there's a difference between your children? And they're making the difference.
Who is behind this? I mean, if you had to tell me, it's A, B, and C, can you?
Well, let me say this to you. We do not have the representation in Shreveport on the board of LSU that we used to have very strong representation. We have people today with petty differences, okay? And be honest with you, they basically don't like the direction of LSU Med School. And the direction of LSU Med School, in my 25 or 30 years, is doing better now than it's ever done before.
Is our lack of representation on that board, is that the governor's fault?
Well, he makes the appointments.
Have you talked to him about it, about why we only have 1 member?
Well, we have 1 member here and 1 member in Coacheville, okay? Mm-hmm. She happened to be a very strong member. But we have a member here that lives in Shreveport. But let me say this to you. He's not as strong as he should be for LSU Med School in Shreveport.
Mr. Gregg, am I overspeaking to say, and we talked about this last hour here on the radio, that LSU football, that its influence, that its money, that the people involved are so powerful and so wealthy that there are people connected to the school and the team who would do anything to protect it?
Anything under the sun they would do to protect the football team in Baton Rouge.
Illegal? Immoral?
And what?
Anything?
Well, now let me say anything. I don't want to define anything. You define that.
Okay.
They will do any and everything to protect that football team because it's a moneymaker. And let me tell you something. It's not the team, it's individuals. The whole team is good. It's just individuals on the team. They let get away with a lot of things.
Mr. Greg, there are
and let me tell you something. This whole thing is all about they want to take the blame from Baton Rouge to somewhere else, and they can't take it to New Orleans because that's just like taking it to Baton Rouge.
Mr. Greg, there are a lot of elected officials, perhaps you among them, some more vocal than others, who have said for a long time that it's the big picture, it's the long-term goal of South Louisiana to get our medical school moved to Baton Rouge, or at least down south of I-10. Do you think this might be part of that big picture goal?
I don't know. I don't want to say that exactly, but I say one thing, that they have created another medical school in Baton Rouge already with state funds, and they have not supported the campus up here like they support the campus in New Orleans. I can tell you that. The Pennington Center in Baton Rouge, they are getting ready to create a medical school there. And in New Orleans, they have a medical school. And we don't have enough money to support the two medical schools while we're creating another one. I've said this many times in Finance Committee, but they continue to move forward.
Greg, what now? What happens with Dr. Ghali now and the LSU Med School? Is there a right to appeal? I mean, what's the procedure now?
And what can you do to assist?
Well, let me tell you something. It takes the public of North Louisiana to assist and help. And they need to support LSU Med School in Shreveport, because LSU Med School in Shreveport is a big plum. And we need to do any and everything to support it, because not only is economic engine, but it saved people's lives up there. Look what it did during the virus. It stood out among all the hospitals in Louisiana. LSU stood out first in testing and everything.
So do we write our lawmakers? Do we write the Board of Supervisors?
You need to write the lawmakers, you need to write the governor and the Board of Supervisors.
Gotcha. Senator Greg Tarver, thanks for your time.
If we don't protect our own, we're going to lose our own.